Resume recording.
Finally put a garbage by my door because people kept asking me where my garbage was, so I just put a garbage can right by the door so they see it when they walk out the door. I missed you this morning.
I thought, this is my new assignment.
You're still on public safety. You're just not on land use anymore.
Did I get it wrong?
Uh-huh. It's okay, though. Yeah, you're on, public safety and public, and admin and finance.
My apologies.
That's okay. It happens.
I thought,
Schedule the public walking for noon.
really?
It's okay.
How did I mess that up?
We're all human, and it's really crazy, busy summer. I know.
I think that's it. I want to go back on vacation.
I bet you do. Where'd you go?
We went camping outside of Deadwood.
Oh, fun.
It's a good area. There's a lot of trails, hiking, all kinds of good stuff. So I'm no longer on land use?
Right, yeah.
Well, didn't I screw that up?
Yeah, 'cause I had to put Chelsea, I switched you and Chelsea.
Right,
Yeah, and Chelsea was on admin, so.
but she is also on the 345 meeting.
The what? Oh, yeah.
So that's where I got.
Yes,
I'm trying
and
to
I
make
thought
excuses,
sorry,
okay?
no, that's okay. Yeah, see, and I forgot to switch that on my agenda, I'm sorry. Get you added
Does
on.
anybody else need a copy of the agenda?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I've got copies here. I forgot to set them over there. Sorry. Yeah, I did this agenda like really quickly in the middle of 4th of July chaos. So,
I think,
No, that one snuck up, didn't it?
it did, yeah. So,
I had it on my calendar, but
okay, well, we'll call the meeting to order. I don't think we actually took minutes of our last meeting. Did we? I didn't.
I didn't.
I didn't, so I will, are the recordings out there?
Doug, would you be interested in taking minutes?
Okay.
thank you, but no thank you.
Well, Jody already does it for, another committee, and I also chair and take minutes for my other committee, so it would be really nice if, that would be a good way for you to participate.
It would be nice if I could do a good job.
You know, that's how you get better.
Well, I'm not here to get better. I'm here to contribute.
Well, that's a way to contribute, and we're all doing that for other committees, so I would respectfully ask you to do that.
Hey, Rhonda, how are you? Oh. Thank you. Okay, so, okay, 7, 9. You could try it and see how it goes.
Oh, no, we'll try it.
Okay.
And you guys can see how it goes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, so, Lonnie, are these meetings, the recordings out there?
It should be.
Okay, we didn't take minutes at the last meeting, because Chelsea was our secretary, and she was still here, but she came to the meeting, but she wasn't officially on our committee, and
Pretty sure.
so we didn't take minutes,
Okay.
but,
They should be on there if
okay.
not.
I can go recreate some minutes for that meeting, because I was here, and if I have any problems, I'll watch the video and recreate them. So, minutes.
Jody,
6:45.
what you attached is a June 25th, or is that, oh, okay, I think that's just the dates wrong on that, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I had thought I saved it, because I was in a hurry, and, the one that Lonnie sent out was the right one,
Okay,
so look at that one,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, I say it was in the middle of my Fourth of July chaos, and, I had updated it, had it all there, and, so anyway, okay.
Yeah, the video's on there.
Okay. Hey, Chelsea, how are ya? Okay, so, Doug has graciously offered to try doing the minutes for us. As far as putting the committee chair, then, do we want to change that? No? Okay,
I would keep you a
Okay.
chair.
okay. All right. And, so now we're on to our, the 24-25 budget. We are currently going through the presentations from our department heads. Dave, do you want to talk about the budget at all, where we're at?
Not a whole lot of update right now, other than, I'm working to make sure we've got the latest, up online. Yesterday was mostly closing out year-end stuff. Have we succeeded with closing out the year-end stuff? Did you able to get that done?
Oh, there won't be any closing out of year end until August, but as far as
The warrant stuff that needed to be
finished
done.
them up this
Okay.
morning, there may be a couple stragglers here and there, but nothing big, major, anything that will really make a
Okay,
difference.
so I apologize for using the wrong term of year-end, but that was the level of effort yesterday. Tonight, we'll have the Public Works budget. Next week, or the next meeting rather, was, going to be Chief Schrock. He's indicated there's a conflict there. And so what I will probably do is probably, I will probably do an updated budget presentation at that meeting. I'm winning the battle with the slides and presentation, and how I want to do it. It's just trying to make it so that it's not 50 different documents and how to have it be one. But I'm also going to be getting that information posted. The more important thing that is a guideline is that we will be setting up a public announcement for so we will be adopting the budget at the second meeting in August, and so we have to publicly notice that. So that will be coming out for the 1st of August, that we'll be doing that. I mean, it's still a ways out, but
Yeah, I'll have it in the paper, that far, but like the 2 weeks in August before the meeting, the very last meeting.
But-
I'll run it twice.
Okay.
So it's in there, and then we'll put it out on our usual
The
date.
8th to the 22nd, or Thursdays.
Yeah, so, yeah, I can, like, I can do that.
Yeah, I can barely. do
Okay.
it, but-
And so I can, yeah, the date will be just to get us there.
And I should have a more updated, budget by the end of the week that I'll send out to everybody.
And we'll have it posted online for folks to readily access as well.
Yep.
So,
And how are the, union negotiations coming through and their effect on the budget?
I'm gonna schedule meetings to hopefully close those out next week. There is one additional internal follow-up meeting that needs to be scheduled. But that'll be the first part. I apologize, I'm multitasking. I want to say the 27th is the second meeting in August. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, yeah,
So-
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having said that, while we will still do a public notice, there's zero issue or concern with letting people know that's when the public hearing will be. And historically, we've offered some other meetings prior to that too, so we'll do that. So I'm sorry, back to negotiations. I think we are mostly settled. I have, some concerns, raised from staff I want to make sure we finalize before we close them out. Do you want more specifics about what those look like, or?
No, I just, didn't know where you were at in the process, because you're negotiating both the police, for the wage, they open the wage up, and then, but the other one is like everything, right?
Yeah, it's a full open, so closing out next week, and that'll be,
Okay.
I'll see if I can get those scheduled by then. So there was an issue on the, Public Works one about the on-call pay, that there was a little bit of anxiety. We have them logging their time because, and basically it'll be retroactively paid when it comes in, about whether they're getting paid for on-call time and how that works. And I believe we're all in agreement of what that looks like, but it did not feel appropriate to begin executing and paying on it until it is some extra administrative work, but until it's done, it isn't done. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering, you know, because some of those, I mean, do you anticipate it changing our budget from what we already have?
No,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. There is a potential change to Public Works spread out across the different Public Works department of under $20,000 to what we have. The cost of basically on-call, I want to say it was 16,000 off the top of my head, or 18, but I'll say under
Okay.
20 to be safe. So that was a difference. The police we submitted with $1, actually we did it with $1.50 is the one that we did first. So I do not anticipate a significant change there. So,
Okay.
so the total change based on what we have out there right now is less than $20,000, and that's coming mostly from enterprise funds.
Okay.
So I think that impact will be minimal. Did I understand the question
Yes,
properly?
you did. I mean, I think as admin and finance,
Okay.
that's our main concern is, you know, how it will affect our budget. And yes, we want our employees to be happy and stuff, but our concern is budget. So.
Yeah, we'd like to avoid the Miles City
Yeah.
$560,000
Oh, well, it's actually
overrun.
760 because they have to maintain 200,000 in their reserve. Miles City, they have to cut $760,000 out of their $6 million general fund budget.
Easy.
Yeah. There will be cuts in staff.
They've
They're to that
already
point.
had several that they've done, that
Yeah.
people have
So-
shifted and,
I know, so, yeah. Yeah, so we think we're in bad shape. I must say that, you know, having a resort tax has probably saved the city of Red Lodge. Yeah, you know, so other towns aren't so lucky. So, okay, perfect. So I guess, you know, we're supposed to identify priorities for consideration when creating the budget, but I think, does anybody have anything they want to say on that? Because I think we've kind of gone through the budget line by line
and I think the last committee
right.
has putting forth a resolution that basically includes and clarifies that police is a priority that we need to maintain on
The
there.
24/7 coverage, yeah.
That'll ultimately come from all of council, but that's the one that's been put out on there.
Yeah.
There is a concern, in comparing pool staffing to previous years.
Mhm.
I need to do, some, more specific call-outs, to find out what the impact is. Again, it's pennies in a budget with double commas, but there's also a general thought that we don't want to be spending $300,000 a year on pool, and at the same time, not staff it appropriately to be open during the months that we're there. There was some concern and conversation that they were shutting down hours, or that they were shutting down because they didn't have adequate staff to do the covering. So there were some staff changes that are made in the revisiting, and Mike, so they're doing some shuffling to make sure we're maximizing it while we have it.
Well, I also noticed they're closing August 15th, which is really disappointing. I saw that somewhere on Facebook, that the last day the pool is open is August 15th or something like that,
When does school start here?
the end of August.
A lot of college kids are going back.
Yeah, they go back like
So-
August 15th, so I think maybe we need to kind of reevaluate how we're staffing the pool.
And I will take that conversation up,
I mean,
We have very many college kids working at school.
I know, well,
It's
it's
your
just,
high school.
yeah, the high school doesn't,
We've-
but they start sports and
Sports.
stuff.
Yeah, that usually starts daily doubles.
the two-a-days were there,
Yeah.
I'm,
But I mean, I know it's normally staffed by, it's great high, but I think it would be nice if when they're hiring, I know you don't necessarily get a pick of who you hire, but if they could have some more people who aren't in school
Yeah.
working
will-
there so that we could maximize our swimming season. too.
not being a social media person, I hadn't seen that, so thank you, and I will do a follow-up on
I
that.
don't know, I could have dreamed it, but I swear I saw that. I was like, oh, that's early. Yeah. So, okay. Recycling center, update on current budget and the annual review. Chris, I know you guys have talked about this in Public Works and,
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share, share the document with you all.
okay,
If you go to the tab, 1-year review budget versus the actual.
okay.
I just wanted to look, since we kind of built this budget last year when we were taking over the recycling center, and it's,
Can you, become a co-person and put it up on the screen?
Are you in the meeting? Do you have the ability to join the meeting easily, or do I need to email it to you? Do you already have it, or do I need to email it to you?
is it in the agenda?
Should be on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, and it's a clickable link if you've got the actual agenda.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, good.
Oh, don't join audio. Can you disconnect from audio?
Can I just turn it off?
Well, the problem is it's still, this
It picks
will
up
hear
on your
you.
microphone and it does a crazy feedback.
Yeah, so just disconnect from, so just skip that part. So don't, or do phone call, and actually, yeah, you just click that X. And so then what that does is now you don't have audio.
Okay.
So, all right. And then what I do is I come over here and I make you a co-host. And now you have the ability to share your screen. And what I will do is I will minimize these windows. Lonnie, you saw the little diagonal corner out so that it makes it like separate tabs.
Yeah.
So like, because it starts
There
out
you go.
kind of like a
Perfect.
panel, but if there's a little upper arrow that points down, it passes it, because then you can minimize it completely, so it's not covering up any of the screen.
You guys can make it a little bit
You
bigger.
can still view it on yours, but then this one doesn't. Does that make sense? I can show you later, yeah.
All right, so the income this is still in progress. As I do have some questions for Lonnie. But the first one is this $6 monthly residence fee. We budgeted 109 and we actually collected 114. So, we're ahead there. And Lonnie was able to give me like the whole, what do you call this?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have more time.
That's okay. That's all right, and we can get together in the next 2 weeks. So, she gave me the ledger, and so it's just a bunch of numbers that I don't know where to put them. And so, I wanna add in the commercial memberships, the non-city memberships, and any of the drop fees, and get those in there as well. But this number will go
So
higher.
that 114, did you pull that off of there, off of those sheets I gave you?
Yeah, I just put, those were easy to identify, because they were like 9,000.
Yeah, so that 114 is a total of all of those, the memberships altogether, not just the $6 fees. Because
Oh.
we don't, because we still just put them when we get the fees in there.
Well, what are all these other ones then? $60, $120,
So those,
180?
yeah, so those are actually, oh, so you added, these are just the,
Yeah,
add up to the 940?
yeah, and there were 12 of them, so I figured
Okay,
those were
so you're good
the
then.
water bills.
I thought you were totaling up
No.
all of them, because
Yeah.
all of these are like the extra membership ones.
Yeah, and hopefully, so
No,
anyway,
we can-
we can go over that together. So these orange boxes need to get filled in here.
Okay.
And so, right now, and you can see right here in where my cursor is in F5, that is the subtotal that Lonnie has on the, actual ledger. So that's what ultimately that's gonna say, but I wanna get the numbers here just so we know how many commercial memberships, how many non-city memberships, and how many drop-off fees we have. But we'll ultimately be ahead, by 16,000.
Okay.
And then we did have some recycling income for scrap metal and aluminum, a little bit over budget there. So we got in a little bit more money. We did not get any money in from cardboard. And that's one of those variables, I think that, you know, some years you get money, some years you don't, depending on what they're paying or what things are costing. And then for expenses, we had broken out in the budget Kyle's wages, Ann's wages, and then admin wages. And it was all in one lump sum to the tune of 34,991.
Is that admin front office staff here, or is
I
that?
believe so, yeah, so I don't know if you've allocated that.
Yeah, because we have to take in the fees.
Yeah, but was that in the
In the
ledger?
employee, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody that's paid out of that fund was in there.
Okay, so that does include admin, that number? Okay.
Yeah, it's just not broken down.
Yeah.
And that one, it's just a lump.
So the total for the supervisor, the gatekeeper, and the admin was 34,991. And then Beartooth Industries was very low compared to what we budgeted. I'm not sure why that
I
is.
have another, there was another one in there for June.
Okay,
So that'll go up, but not to the tune of that much, of what we budgeted.
yeah.
I have a question. My recollection when this first went into place is there was an additional staff person that was related, that was a significant part. Mitzi, what was?
Oh, was that the supervisor? And we pulled her off.
No,
Right.
that was Missy when in the planning part, well, then when Missy left and we had no planner, all the duties there went to my gal.
Okay, so
Are you talking
it
about?
was
admin?
What's
budgeted,
that?
Yeah, it was budgeted in that
so
11,000.
the admin was budgeted, it was just person X, and now it's person Y and Z
Right.
doing it rather than person X.
Right.
Okay.
And I guess what I was saying is this number of 16,848 might have been when the supervisor from Beartooth Industries was supposed to be included.
Yeah.
Well, and we didn't utilize them for the whole fiscal year either, because we didn't get a contract with them until quite a couple months
Yeah, so
after.
they weren't
Okay.
being used for, gosh, I don't think we finally got anything done until October, November.
Yeah,
So
So
it
it
was only
was-
more of a half year that we actually utilized.
So going forward though, that sounds like the budgeted amount is what still needs to be planned on going forward
right.
again.
I would, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, and also just a note that the expense, the personnel expense also included workers' comp. So,
I'm I'm sorry, say that again?
wages and workers' comp and
Yeah, remember, you're competing with backhoes.
Yeah, so the
ERS.
salaries always include workman's comp, and then it's a loaded wage. So everything is included in your salary.
Well, they had that, it was broken out
It is in that,
in this one.
in that detail, it
Yeah.
does break out workman's comp because that's a separate, we pay that separately, whereas
Yeah.
everything else is taken from the 100 object code, where workman's comp is 142, so it's separated.
Yeah, so it's in there, the
Yeah.
total is in there. And then the next, amount of expenses were the materials and the processing and the transportation for everything. Scrap metal, that was a win, so we didn't have any costs with that. That was actually, a credit, not a debit, up above. Glass was way over. I mean, that's a huge percentage and huge number of all the stuff that we do. We did talk about potentially getting a glass crusher, so we didn't have to transport glass. And I'll share that, I mean, if you wanna, Chelsea reached out to Livingston about this.
Yeah, so Mike Mapleton,
Okay.
and it doesn't sound like that's a super feasible option. So Livingston got a glass crusher, had a lot of issues with using it for any of the glass and what they do with that glass. They tried to use it for trails, ended up having several lawsuits against them and claims because dogs were cutting their feet, on the glass. They didn't really have good facilities for it. It requires a lot of ventilation. So they basically now have a very large paperweight in Livingston.
Will they take our glass?
And also trying to sell it to the folks, no one really had any interest for it. Public Works didn't really have any use for it either. So, it doesn't sound like that's a super feasible option moving forward.
So one of the questions, as I recall, that came up, and part of this is going back to when previous councils initially set this up, was that they were going to evaluate whether this was something that we wanted to continue, if it was self-maintaining, it was self-there.
Mhm.
It sounds to me like part of the story, and keeping in mind what the original objectives were, and then the research that was done on the carbon emissions, driving it around the country 3 times, is glass a limb that needs to be amputated so that the rest of the program is able to survive and benefit, as opposed to saying, oh, we can't do it, or it's not meeting the goals? Is there just one element that can be eliminated that addresses it?
And in my brain, that's like the most reasonable
Yeah.
thing to do. Again, in terms of what we're doing, it's kind of for the feel good. The carbon emissions, again, the footprint, I don't think we're actually making positive impacts by doing it. That's my thought. Sustainability Board even had a similar thought with that, so kind of
I
sounds
would
like
really
it's.
like them to make that call.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's,
they can make a recommendation,
A
but it'll
recommendation,
ultimately
but-
be you guys who make
Yeah.
the call.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Make a
we
recommendation.
do meet this week as well, Sustainability Board does. Wait, no, next week.
I don't
Yeah.
know if there's any sort of like grant opportunity that we could utilize, but I would imagine since it's not like a capital thing.
Yeah, you could probably get a grant to buy the crusher, but.
Yeah,
then there's-
yeah, it's-
But-
And it'd be,
But there's
that's
nothing
the
to
thing
do
is,
with it.
if we could use the crusher and like, maybe they weren't using it right, and maybe we don't use it for trails, but there's other purposes we could use it for, and then, but we'd have to essentially build an entire facility around it that, again, cost effective, who knows, like, so if we wanted to continue to pursue that path, we could, but what we're hearing right now isn't optimistic.
The other thing that I would offer, and again, this is council's purview, is my recollection is there was a lot of resistance to this $6 fee, even from people who use the facilities regularly. Additionally, we have had conversations and concerns about adding a stormwater which in my mind, I have zero questions about. That's a providing basic functional services
Yeah.
of the city level. And there's two parts to this. Part of it is the what does it accomplish part, and part of it is the how much is a feel-good part. So like I said, I think both of those conversations
Yeah,
are
I-
valid things to consider, but it's also council's purview. But
the thing is that glass is a natural occurring thing in the environment, unlike plastic, you know, and so if we're gonna have to cut something, glass to me would be the more,
Feasible option.
yeah. And the fact we have to, you know, haul it all over the country to get it to a facility. You know, we're actually increasing our footprint, in my opinion, than saving it. I love that we recycle glass, but if we have to cut something, that to me would be.
So, I guess, I appreciate you breaking out that one segment glass, but I'm still trying to look for the bottom line. Are we winning or losing?
We're definitely winning, like, we have an excess of, I mean, so this conversation is a little bit premature, but we could also take a look at lowering the recycling fee if we got rid of glass. I mean, my opinion is not to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's my point, is with, you know, you break out glass, well, if you're gonna assign cost to it, you need to break out administrative costs, you need to do a full breakdown of everything that we recycle. But there's also well, this is good for society, so let's go ahead and absorb that little cost. I mean, I guess I'm having a hard time saying that we're gonna recycle, but we're not gonna recycle glass.
well, the problem with recycling glass is if you convert glass into CO2, then you haven't accomplished anything. Because to make it work for me, if we convert glass into plastic, the mission has not been met. I actually like your idea of glass is not meeting the objectives of why this plan was put here, but coming back and saying there's gonna be a reduction in recycling because of that.
Yeah.
We're doing the stuff that we can recycle. Part of it didn't make sense to do, but your rate is going down. To me, that goes miles to, we're trying to accomplish this, but for the least amount possible, as opposed to, we're gonna hang on to the money and, you know, we wanna maintain it enough to maintain the facility. That idea, as somebody who A, pays it, and B, somebody who hears about it every time somebody has a conversation on it, that's a lot of traction. We decided one element wasn't meeting the objective, so we stopped doing that, but we also lowered the cost accordingly.
So, what about cardboard right there? I'm just looking at one number, it's almost double what we budgeted.
Yeah, and again, that's a kind of a commodity thing where some years they were paying for cardboard, and now we have to pay to take it away, so it fluctuates.
So is that
Sometimes it's an income and sometimes we have to pay.
right, but that's,
So this was our best guess, last year at what that would cost. And you can see that we have it up here as an income item, and we didn't get any income for it. We have
so
to-
why isn't this being discussed like glass is being discussed? It's not profitable.
Well, we are, we're going through each of them, but I'm just pointing out that glass is a huge expense, and I'm not in favor of removing it at this point, because we do have the money to cover it, but it's just something that we need to keep an eye on, I think, overall. And as a council, make a decision if we want to keep it or not, if we want to lower the cost for recycling or not.
Yeah, I mean,
This is just a review of our
it's a great,
first year.
it's a great conversation to have about all of them. I mean, if,
Yeah.
like, when we were hauling our plastic to China and they were just dumping it into the ocean, I mean, we were doing nothing for the environment at that point. You know, so it is up to us to make sure that, you know, where does it go after we put it in the truck, you know, with the glass? If it's going to, you know, it's costing us double, and then it goes all the way to Missoula, and then where does it go from there? Idaho, and then down to Florida or Texas? You know, I mean, it's not just, go to Billings and get recycle. So I think we need to talk about that with everything that, you know, that we do with it, you know?
Yeah, and I'm by no means an expert on what happens to it after it leaves.
Right, yeah.
That requires a bit of a
But-
deeper dive.
But I do agree with Chris that, you know, and Doug to a certain point, you know, that if our budget is okay, you know, we're breaking even right now, you know, I think it'll be up to council, I guess, to decide too at that point, where everything's at, do we wanna cut, you know?
I appreciate the fact, and I think you should work to communicate the fact during comments, that the mission is to have an impact, not just to feel good patting ourselves on the
Right.
back. And therefore, when you evaluate the glass, or you know, cardboard may be costing us, but it is making an impact, and therefore it justifies the cost and the expense. Versus if all you're doing with glass is converting it into gas emissions, we're not accomplishing the mission.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, we suspect that, but I don't think we know that, and maybe that's something that the sustainability board could look at, is like, what happens with all this stuff after?
Yes,
And, you know, it's
absolutely.
not all, you know, the city is not in business to make money, and we can look at trash the same way. Like, what is the net impact? That's a huge expense, but we don't have trash all over our town, so there's a trade-off there.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and part of what we also wanna know is how many tons are we actually taking out of our landfill with Republic Services, you know, not having to haul it away.
Well, Mike.
Although they do haul away the glass and charge us for it separately, but.
Mike did a little bit of, to, glass was, he estimated 96,000 pounds, 12,000 pounds of electronics, 20,000 pounds of plastic, 9,300 pounds of aluminum, almost 18,000 of steel, 52,000 of paper, and 156,000 of cardboard.
This is the stuff going through the recycling center?
Yes,
And I don't,
Because, to your point, I know there's an awful lot of cardboard that goes into the trash.
mhm,
I know one of the things that sustainability, and it'll come up, and because we're getting ready to have those negotiations, is we're gonna have the conversations about if it's an option to do like cardboard pickup at curbside or some of the recycling stuff. Because going back to, if your mission is to put less in the landfill, I think that's an important step to actually getting there. And so that's something that, again, has come up in sustainability board and will be part of the contracts.
but I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, and right now, I mean, we personally are just on this committee concerned about the budget, where we're at on the budget. But I think when we do the annual review, all of those points, you know, when council actually listens to the presentation, and his public works is going to work on that review, correct?
yeah, we're
With
gonna talk
Mike?
about this
Okay.
tonight at
Okay.
Public Works too,
Yeah,
but.
okay.
Yeah, because I saw annual review on the agenda, I apologize,
Yeah,
that was my
no,
concern.
yeah, no, I just,
And that was the promise that we made when we looked at this last year and took it over. It's to do an annual review, like, just like we are with short-term rentals. And so that's what this is right now. And,
this, just the
and
budget.
it's obviously not finished, it's in progress.
Yeah.
So,
So basically, at the end of the day, though, if you go down to the bottom, we are okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I did have a couple of questions too. We had budgeted $1,200 for porta potties, $100 a month, and I don't see any charges for that.
I haven't gotten any bills, so I don't know what they're doing.
Is it Bear Creek Essential?
I don't know who they went through before, so,
Okay.
but I have not received any invoices from any
Okay.
company for that.
We were right on target for the baling wire, low on propane. I'm assuming those AY things were propane.
Yep.
So we spent $100 on that. I will ask Kyle about that, why it's so low. Forklift maintenance, we did not use. Plowing, we were a little over budget, and that is a low snow year, so that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. We probably need to double that.
Utilities, we were under. Insurance, we didn't put in there. Advertising, we didn't spend anything. admin and office supplies was just, postcards and postage for, that's just explaining the
Yeah.
program to everybody?
The postcards are the non-city membership. We have those printed so we can give people, 'cause,
Oh, okay,
so they have proof that
Okay.
they have a membership, so we did little postcards for them.
okay.
And then I think the postage was,
I think that was
mailing those
Yeah.
postcards and stuff.
And then garbage we didn't budget for, so I put that in there. And those are for the, just the trash bins that we have at the recycling center. And then the Baylor lease, that was not in there.
What is that again?
That's the lease for one of the balers for, it's either the cardboard or the paper baler. We have 3 balers. We have a plastic baler, and we have a paper baler, and
Are those fixed costs?
I think so, yeah. And I know we own 1 or 2 of the balers, and then we rent the other one.
And that was started with, Recycle Red Lodge,
Mhm.
just rolled over to the city.
Yep. So I'm pretty confident of the expense part of it. I've gone through all of the expenses, and I think this is fairly accurate. So we are pretty close to budget, overall, even though some of those categories are up and down. But the income, I need to figure that out, and then Lonnie's help. And I had a couple questions for you, so let's.
So, we're saying that the $6 is sufficient
Yeah,
under current
yep,
expenses. The biggie is glass.
yeah.
Cardboard, I think is the same category, but it's not significant dollars.
It's not a significant dollar, sure. I don't think any of them are significant dollars compared to glass. So,
So do we have any other options for removal of glass? Is there any wholesaler that would take it for?
I don't know that. It's a tricky one. Not many places in Montana recycle glass, and for this very reason, it's expensive, and then you wonder, like, what the net result is for hauling it so far. And it's heavy, and it is, like Jody mentioned, a naturally occurring sand. So, and there is some benefit, I know, to having glass in a landfill, because it helps to break down other things.
Is that crushed glass or just?
Just regular glass, it's like, yeah, it breaks in the landfill.
So that is where we are, and I don't think that we need to talk about it again here, but we will be talking about it tonight and then probably at the next.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year what how it actually, during the presentation, how the budget actually turned out, when it's all the expenses and the income are all in there.
What's the fiscal year on this?
Same as the city, it's July 1st through June 30th. Do you have anything you wanted to add on that?
No, like I said, you and I can sit down and check.
Okay.
For this thing.
Okay, so, let's move on to the short-term rental ordinance, because we're gonna run out of time. I haven't even had a chance to look at anything from where we were at before, and the business registration, so, I guess, now that the 4th is over, I'll try to hit that harder.
Yeah.
So, because I really do want it, because we're gonna have to do our annual review for that as well. And with that, I guess, let's just talk a little bit about what we want in our annual review, what we want to, as admin committee, what we want to present. We're going to, the changes that we're proposing will directly affect the cap eventually, if we ever reach the cap. So, I think we need to be clear about how those changes may affect the cap, where we are right now with the cap. That they'll want to know that.
So I have a list of things for
Okay.
the review. Hotline calls
Yep,
and complaints.
yep,
I'm sorry, what was that?
Hotline calls or complaints, there's a hotline to call and,
Right.
file complaints about the STRs.
Yeah.
the
and then-
number that we have and the types of complaints.
Yep, and I actually received a list, and there
Okay.
was 15 on there total.
Oh,
And I got that from Danae, and that there was like 4 for 1 ounce. And
While
Probably
we're
my neighbor.
on this
Yeah.
subject, there was a gentleman that was in here yesterday, and he was asking about the good neighbor policy that was created.
Yep.
Does anybody have a copy of that? Nope. Because we looked through Courtney's files and stuff,
It should be on the website, I thought.
we can't find it anywhere.
I actually might have an old version of it.
Okay, because with the committee, did they not create a new one when the short-term committee met and went through all of the things?
I never ever saw that.
I never
It
saw a
wasn't
finalized
included
one.
as part of the ordinance, or, did you see it?
Yeah.
So it's in the zoning code, but I don't think it made it through, because I think it got put in with, the second round. That one ordinance that did not pass in, what, October?
I got a text.
It got merged in with the lighting,
Oh,
or the signage.
oh,
I
it
think
was part of
in
that?
that.
Oh, so it didn't get passed.
I don't think it got passed. But I'll double check on that, but I do think I have one of the old versions of the good neighbor policy that we could,
Because I guess it was
redo.
discussed, and I didn't go to any of the short-term rental meetings or anything, but it was discussed in there that all of the short-term rental properties would have this somewhere posted in their
Yep.
property
In
and
the
stuff. And so he was just wondering, if there's anything out there that people are getting to put into their,
Yep. Because I never found the finalized version, but I do have one of the originals. So we could finalize that as a council. I think it's a great idea to have those in the units. We basically have them
Right,
anyway.
well, I mean, yeah, you post that, you know, when the quiet hours are and, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
and that.
that's basically all it is,
and
like dogs on leashes, how to park your car, quiet
Right.
hours,
Yeah,
fireworks.
Fireworks.
Yep, dogs, or, yeah,
Yeah.
noise ordinances, that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
yeah,
it's all good information, and it's just, it's nice because it's from the city and it's city laws versus just STR managers making up their own, which is fine.
so if you have a copy, like,
I'll see what I
even if
can
it's an old
find.
one, that maybe we can
Yeah.
right.
kind of update or whatever, and then the council can
It's
Pass
where
it.
I
Pass
got
it.
the website. I'm getting an answer here, hang on.
And it seems interesting to me that it was part of zoning regulations. I'll probably reach out and just get an opinion from our planner if that's the mechanism or place it needs to be.
Yeah,
I
to
don't
me, that
think-
seems like,
I don't think it does, because it deals with, a lot of it deals with city ordinances and not zoning.
yeah, and that's it. It got put into the zoning because they were handling so much of the STR rules and process, which again, I don't think that's necessarily where that should
But it
live.
didn't pass anyway.
I don't think it did.
It was part of what.
It's
was
either,
passed.
it's either passed with the cap ordinance, which I don't remember that in the cap ordinance,
I don't remember that in the cap ordinance.
or it was put in with all the other suggestions from the STR ordinance that was supposed to go in with the rezoning and the lighting, and that is a mess. So, I can
Okay.
find those.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending those
Yep.
over, that would be great. And, you know, maybe it's something admin can, or maybe it's something,
It won't
land
take,
use, maybe it's something land use and planning wants to,
it won't take much work, and again, we could actually probably,
whatever, however you guys decide to handle it.
could probably build it into the registration piece.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
definitely.
You know, when people register and then somehow maybe through the software, if we can, I don't
Well, again,
know.
Danae does like a welcome packet for folks,
Yeah.
with all the stuff that they need, and then having a copy of that, that's really easy.
That,
And again,
that would work.
Yeah,
Perfectly, honestly.
The
And if we need to
concept is
pass
good.
it as a resolution that this is our good neighbor policy at this time,
yeah.
because if something changes, you know, you might need to.
And that's it, is I think that we have a set of rules
Chris, if you want.
for STRs in their own ordinance.
Oh.
Did you find it?
I can just put our agenda on here.
Or what I was gonna do is pull up see if we had any other folks, because we're down to our last, we're down to time.
Another thing on the business registration, was, there was a business owner that came in and processed food and the definition of processed food, needs to be clarified,
Sure.
within the ordinance, because the way
Okay.
he was saying, processed food, he doesn't process food there. It's like, so I tried to explain to him that you have food that is readily consumable.
Yeah.
Like candy bars, he has, meat and cheese that you can open in the store or walk out of the store and eat right away. But we just need to clarify somewhere what processed food.
prepared food?
So the way it says,
Yeah.
businesses that sell prepared food, drinks, and smoked products, and I have several copies of it here.
Prepared, yeah.
Prepared.
But part of the question, and I'll offer my input, and my understanding was, as you had these tiers, you're basing it based on the level of whether, of what staff effort is. Business license should be appropriately to do that. So like a really good example that comes to mind is Sylvan Peaks. They sell trail bars. They have a shelf as you walk in.
But they don't make the
bars.
trail bars.
They don't make them. It's a product, but they got
It's
the
a
the two,
prepackaged product. It's
but they
different.
got the 250 business license, because right now it doesn't preclude prepackaged products.
Because like I said, definition of prepared is
Oh.
different, because it
And-
is prepared, it may be prepared somewhere else,
Prepared on site?
but they're still being charged.
And so the other thing that I noticed is in tier one, may or may not collect resort tax. To me, the probability is, if it's resort tax, that's requiring additional administrative functionality, and it should probably be in that particular tier.
Rod?
The way it was looked at, prepared food is for immediate consumption.
Right,
So the deli, the
right,
restaurant,
exactly.
Yeah.
that's prepared food. Prepared for immediate consumption is not food stamp, but what we usually call food stamp.
Right, that's the
Yeah.
difference. Yeah, we did not mean that if
So-
someone was selling trail
The
bars,
can-
that
the
they had to
candy
do
bars,
that. No,
the candy
no.
bars, trail bars, that's
Yeah.
all
But
called
you
out as
don't
a
pay tax
specific
on
line item.
Candy bars.
You
So
pay
that's
tax
why-
on it, but because it's junk food, I mean, it's
But
not a
it was
necessity of life.
But that's
identified
where
as
the
a
tiers,
specific
that's
line
what-
item.
That's where the mayor's coming with
Oh.
the fact that may or may not collect resort
So-
tax.
Right.
But
So let me ask you a question. Sylvan Peak, in your mind, as you look at your definitions, would that be a tier
Whether,
one or a tier
however,
two?
our definitions we meant prepared food, like, on site.
Basically, a trail bar is a nutrition bar versus a candy bar versus.
Right.
I mean, they all have nutrition, they could all be
I-
bought with,
I got put into because I have the tea bar and I make drinks on site and I make, smoothies and,
But this
But-
was also brought up when we were discussing this, because candy bars and, because you guys had made the comment, well, so some of these smaller stores that are selling candy bars and candy and stuff are gonna fall into that 250. Are you-
Oh, I don't remember that.
conversation? So,
I'm sorry, I
but
don't.
when you look online of a definition of prepared food, it
Uh-huh.
is prepackaged food is under the definition.
Gotcha.
So we may need to look at that.
And the answer is, there isn't a right or a wrong. There is some confusion around your intent.
Yeah.
I would offer that it ought to correlate to the level of staff effort required.
Okay.
So that's one thing that we're still doing with the registration ordinance,
Mhm.
is we're breaking down and creating criteria for each of those tiers. So like we did with the FTRs, we have those different registrations and the different criteria to fit those registrations. So we can do the same thing with food and beverage, retail shops, that kind of thing. It's like, these are your criteria. And
Right.
so that's something we're still in the works on. Me and Danae have been working on it. So again, we don't anticipate having this done anytime soon, because it's big, it's a big.
Well, but we did pass it, and this is
We
what,
did, yeah.
this is what went out right now.
Well, and I guess, the way we have it written right now, prepared consumables could be a candy bar.
Could be a can of corn.
It could be
Yep.
It could be a what?
a can of corn, yeah.
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 So that's where you have to identify,
Yep.
candy was considered a non-essential.
Right.
So it was listed originally as a line item.
And I think there was an effort, I wasn't there as you guys did this, but I think there was an effort to align this to the resort tax kind of definitions and stuff.
There was, yeah, a little bit of
In
that.
which case, to me, that almost becomes part of your tiers, and the part where I was confused, where tier one says whether they do or don't collect a resort tax, and to me, that almost seems like a better determination of which level you are. Tier one is, we issue a license, we're done, we never deal with you again. Tier next is, we're collecting resort tax. I don't care if we're collecting it for widgets or trail bars, it's a resort tax involved, and that's a higher level of staff.
But then you also have like clothing stores that do T-shirts. I mean, they're $100, but they collect resort tax if it has Red Lodge on it.
So-
So I mean, I
they
don't
are,
know.
and there's, like, there's resort tax here, non-resort tax here.
So, and that to me, I think is what I'm saying. So what is the difference between, because as soon as they sell candy bars,
Well, I was thinking the lodging and repaired consumables was because of the health department being involved and having to make sure they have their licenses in place. So to me, you can sell a candy bar and you don't have to be inspected by a health.
and that was my only point, is it should tie, in my mind, to some level of effort by staff. And so if that was the level of effort is that the health board's involved,
Right,
then your definition needs to be updated to say if it involves the health board.
right.
Farmer's market, does that involve the health board when they make homemade bread and pies and sell at a farmer's
Well, they
market?
are a cottage industry, they get a cottage industry license, so it's a different type of license because they're the ones selling what they bake and directly to the consumer, it's different.
So do you see the two concerns? Like I said, I would like it to be clear, and in my mind, it ought to be able to be justifiable by saying it's this because it requires a higher level of staff.
Yeah, and we may have talked about that, but I guess I was thinking that they wouldn't fall in that. Prepared consumables, I guess I was thinking on-site.
And maybe that's all we need to change,
Yeah, because,
prepared on-site consumables, and
Right.
then that would eliminate,
Or prepared, non-prepackaged, or,
yeah, I think there just
Non-packaged,
needs to be
yeah, non-packaged.
clarification in there.
Because, I mean, like, I could go and, I could buy, pastries from Cattail and then go sell them in my store, and I'm not preparing them on site, but I still need to follow health food guidelines when I'm serving food.
and that doesn't, somebody said stamped earlier, but like
Yeah.
prepackaged to me is, it's
Yeah, it
a
has
product, it arrives.
It's all packaged, it has the ingredients in it, it has the expiration date, it's gone through FDA guidelines to be there.
It's designed to be consumed at some point, but not necessarily immediately.
Right.
Well, but all the health stuff was taken care of at
Wherever it was.
Acme State
Right,
Widget
exactly.
Factory.
Yeah, I guess, when we did this, my intent was not to have, if you sell candy bars, that you're.
But we did, just as an FYI, because
Yeah,
that's what
and
it said.
I guess I'm sorry, I just didn't realize
No,
that
but
was
guess what?
the.
You're
That's,
human.
and
Yeah, I'm
that's,
pretty
and
confident.
that's why we're bringing it up now, we
Yeah,
figured
yeah.
some things, you know, like, that's new, so we're trying
Right,
to make sure,
absolutely, yeah.
some of this stuff has come up since we've done this, so now we just need to,
And that's why
Right.
we're readdressing the registration ordinance, but the big thing is
Right.
we had to get this done to be compliant with state law.
you know.
Yeah,
And we're right now, it's actually good that we have a year to go through some of these registrations,
Right.
because it's gonna bring up these questions before we actually finalize it.
Right, okay. All right, well, we'll continue working on that then.
Lonnie, I'm sending you the,
Yeah.
original.
Chris, go ahead.
Yep.
I was just looking at this bill in the Davis Kennedy, what if, there's three spots where we talk about prepared food. So if we just cross out prepared and then put assembled / prepared on site in those three instances. Would that take care of it?
Possibly,
Assembled / prepared, because
and like I said, it would just be an amendment to this resolution to clarify those.
Yeah. Well, and I think, yeah, The only thing is that we did have grocery stores, gas stations. But, okay, businesses that sell prepared food, drinks, and smoked products. Yeah, because we do, yeah, you're right, I
We just
mean,
have to make a definition for what prepared food means. And that will go in the criteria and the definitions underneath, this is what prepared food means. Yeah, that's all you got.
I go back to the tier one, and I think what this results is more tier threes rather than the tier ones, is if I sell T-shirts and only T-shirts, it's the exact, the resort tax amount, the amount of effort, because you're handling resort tax still exists. Is $100 sufficient to cover those costs?
I think that's what Danae
Well-
said, is in terms of the resort tax portion, that wasn't as much of the work as when you have all of the supplemental documents that go in with that registration.
Yeah.
So again, inspections, fire inspections, like, you know.
So-
I don't
now
wanna,
whether they
I don't wanna
inspect-
punish businesses for collecting resort tax.
No,
Because they gave up their.
I
Right. Oh,
know,
no,
yeah,
no, yeah, I-
yeah, so I don't want
so
it to seem like,
maybe
oh, you
the
collect resort
solution
tax,
is-
now you need to give us even more money. I don't wanna go there, so.
The solution is, you also don't wanna tell them they can't sell candy bars on the shelf on the,
Exactly, yeah,
an impulse item as they go
Yeah.
out.
yeah, or a bag of potato chips, or a, you know, I'm like,
Well, then, you know, that would preclude that if assembled and prepared on site. because
Right.
Candy bar's not.
right, or, but at the same time, like, if you have like cold drinks in a cooler, then that's different, you know what I mean? It's,
That's not assembled and prepared on site.
I know, so, well, it doesn't really matter, because all the gas stations have, the thing is, the reason why we did part of this was because of the beer and alcohol. We wanted that to have the higher, the $250. So those were the cold drinks that people could just grab and go, so, but I think we're probably okay anyway, because, I think every C-store has a machine that shoots out pop.
Well,
Or,
it does specifically, mention gas stations
yeah,
and bars, liquor stores, dispensaries.
prepared foods on site, but drinks would be, yeah. I don't know, we'll have to do a little more thinking about that, but I gotta go.
Non-prepackaged prepared foods on site, how many words?
Yeah, I know,
Like that.
I know, I gotta go though, guys. Like,
All right.
I've got someone waiting to, yeah. So, yeah, definitely more discussion, and thank you so much, guys. Rod gave this to me, it was really just passes, so could you take that to land use sometime?
You bet your boots.
And, cause that's,
Interesting things I think would apply.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to read it. I'm trying to